Hey everybody, this is Perch. We have some big anniversary issues coming up, most notably, or at least from this mail, but this thing that we're going to discuss, Amazing Spider-Man number 1000. So what will Amazing Spider-Man number 1000 be? Well, let me read this mail here and we can speculate on it, but the answer I'm going to give you is, look, I'm not trying to be Mr. Negative with with comics, but I suspect my answer isn't going to be super positive. And it's not like, well, anyway, let's get to the mail and we'll see. You can see for yourself. But I really, I do not want to, I don't want to give these negative answers. It sucks. I hate, I want, I don't want to talk like this. Anyway, it says, Dear Perch, is Marvel going to reboot around the time Amazing Spider-Man number 1000 releases? I'm saying this because Amazing Spider-Man and Venom come off as just killing time before number 1000 comes out. With JMS coming back to Spider-Man with Amazing Spider-Man Torn, I can't help but remember his pitch for how One More Day would have affected the title without it reverting, with it reverting the book back to the Stan Lee Romita Sr. days. Torn is set in that same time period, and some part of me is just getting the feeling like 1000 is going to be a grand reset back to that era. You've said enough to imply the reboot is probably going to happen, but I just want to know when. Well, I don't know when. And, I'm saying this from the standpoint of if you look at Marvel and you look at what they want to do with comics, and more importantly, you look at what Disney and what they want to do, and kind of all the things that are coming to a head with the MCU and trying to figure out kind of what its future looks like and all the rest. It just feels like a reboot is in the cards. You know what's funny is, when Secret Wars, the Jonathan Hickman version came out, it was an opportunity at that point for Marvel to reboot fairly substantially. It kind of put a nice bow on the Doctor Doom, Mr. Fantastic dynamic, and a lot of things that kind of started the Marvel universe. But they didn't. The Marvel universe was at that precipice of rebooting, and it's like, let's just keep going. And then they did this kind of time skip thing, and it was poorly put off, and then they kind of tried to clean that up a little bit, and it was just, all in all, it felt like a very clear moment in time that they didn't take advantage of. My hunch, by the way, is that more out of necessity. We're getting the Battle World, we're getting Secret Wars in the movies coming out fairly soon, and it's not going to be a copy of the comic book storylines. But my hunch is that the MCU, the movie universe, is going to wind up rebooting more effectively than the comics did. They kind of have to because, you're not going to be making an X-Men movie with Halle Berry, 10 years from now. It's just, they're going to be moving on with stuff. So how sad would it be if the comic books hit this moment and had a chance to kind of reboot and clean things up and start over? And again, I'm not necessarily in favor of a reboot. I just think it becomes a necessity after a while. How sad it will be if the comics didn't do that after Secret Wars, but the stupid movie universe did. I don't know. There will be something that really irks me is because the comics are so much better and should be so much better and are so much better. And yet the movies seem to take advantage of these moments sometimes better, which just galls me. But anyway, back to Spider-Man for a moment. This is the part that I think is going to come off as negative. No, I don't think it's going to reboot, and I don't really think anything's going to happen. To be very, very frank with you, I think Amazing Spider-Man number 1000 is going to come out. It'll be a main story that will probably involve the Green Goblin becoming evil again or something like that. And Spider-Man will, it'll be kind of this one-off story where Spider-Man's, maybe they'll conclude a story, or maybe, in will come Chip Zdarsky to write a story about how, Peter Parker sets his own things aside in order to help others. So he's late to like a birthday party for Aunt May or something because he's, fighting the Rhino and Dr. Octopus and saving civilians. And Aunt May is like, you can't even care about your own Aunt May who took care of you. But then they'll have a moment where she's like, thank you, Spider-Man. And Peter's, that Parker luck stuff they're just going to go back to. That's my guess. Is Amazing Spider-Man number 1000 won't really have anything. I think they're going to tease a bunch of, oh, wait a minute. Are they going to bring back Mary Jane? Are they going to get them back together? No. In fact, we'll get some kind of knife in the heart panel of Mary Jane going, "We were always better friends, Tiger." It's like, and just that's what I think. I don't think we're getting anything along those lines. I think it'll be a oversized anniversary issue, a bunch of fill-in stories, and that's what we'll get. I'd love to be wrong about that. I'd like the I don't necessarily, I'm not pitching for a reboot, but I'd like it. I like these anniversary issues to mean something, but they don't. The anniversary issues for quite a while now really are it's just another number. It's not a big blow off. It's not a big the stories are sometimes good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad comic. I'm just saying it won't be a major anything. That's my belief. I'd like it to feel meaningful. What I want for comics is what we've had in the past, and what every now and then I hear writers pitch that this is how it should be, is the comic should feel like a can't miss issue. That if you don't buy this issue, if you're not there, you're going to miss a major turning point for the character. You're going to miss a major introduction. The comic publishers vaguely know what this is, or they remember it, because you'll get in the solicitations every now and then. I mean, they did for a Wolverine #1, the Saladin Ahmed, the recent one. And it's, we're telling retailers they need to order big because this is introducing a major new villain that's going to be a collector value item one day. It was that adamantine, the gold force. Anyway, that was what it was. It's not going to be a collector. Spoilers. It won't be a collector's issue. But that's what we desire. We do desire these comics to be like, if you miss it, you are going to regret it. You're going to be hunting around the comic shops. You're not going to be able to find one. You'll be really frustrated. Somebody's going to rip you off on eBay. This comic is going to really, really be something that you're going to miss having. And you do see comics come out like that. The buzz around Absolute Batman became that. The initial buzz, the initial hype around that was not huge, but a couple issues. I mean, it was like, when I say not huge, I'm saying it grew from. Meaning people were ready to buy it, but there were a lot of people, people have short-term memories. I on social media and other places, people were like, this Nick Dragotta art sucks. And then sure enough, 2 months later, 3 months later, it's like, oh my God, I got to find the issue. It's sold out everywhere. And this art is amazing. It's like, yeah. Well, you didn't read East to West, you dipshit. So you didn't know. But that's the kind of feeling we need for comics. I compare comics to wrestling every now and then, but when wrestling was really, really popular, people were, tuning in, you had this feeling of, I've got to be in front of my TV on a Monday night because you've got Raw and Nitro going head to head, and it's the Monday Night Wars, and who's going to join the NWO, and how's DX going to respond? And I mean, you had this feeling of, if you miss it, you're not gonna, it's gonna be bad for you. Comics need to get there, and these anniversary issues, Amazing Spider-Man 1000, should be like that. It needs to be a, wow, so much happened. I want to, I guess, pitch something that I've said before in other videos, but I'll say here. Why not go for it? If you're Marvel, if you're DC, and I'm not talking to the writers, I'm talking to the editors. And DC kind of seems to be doing a little bit more of this. The DC, this KO thing that was just announced, the big tournament. I mean, look, on the surface, it's a silly idea. The superheroes going to fight each other for some, amazing power. I mean, it like, there's nothing inherently magical about that. But it feels like some writers sat around and said, let's have Wonder Woman in a knockdown, drag out to the death fight against Lobo. Fuck it. And they're doing it. Why not do that? You're a comic writer. Well, again, this is more for the editors, the people in charge of the company. You're in charge of Marvel. The label that comic shops have on you right now is not that your comics are awful. It's that your comics are just kind of there. That, they're coming out. There's some good stories. There's stuff to read, and there is. It's not, this is not a, oh, the sky is falling, comics are dying. There's nothing that's like, holy shit, we're swinging for the fences right now. As much as a overburdened hype man that he was, Donnie Cates would come out and be like, "You're gonna blow your mind. And Noel's gonna come and just f up everything, and then the Hulk's gonna have a weird helmet on, and Thor's gonna be dying, and fuck." Like that was Donnie Cates, and it was dumb. But I miss at least somebody being like, "This is gonna melt your eyes out of your skull." Like, why not? It's comics. You do have the out. People will hate it, but you have and then Doctor Doom erased everybody's memories. And it always, I mean, unlike the movies, you don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to put this thing out. It doesn't take 2 years to get it put out. You could do something fast. You could undo it fast. Why not? I mean, there's been plenty of dumbass things that have happened in comics that they've undone. The whole Heroes Reborn nonsense, I mean, goddamn, that Rob Liefeld Avengers book and Cap book, Christ, those were awful. And sure enough, Marvel's like, well, this sucks. And, less than 2 years later, we had George Perez and, on the book, making magic. So you can undo anything. So go for it. Why not? What do you got to lose? Hey, put Peter back with Mary Jane. Fuck it. If it destroys everything and the entire world comes apart, cool. Then break them up 12 issues later. You could do whatever you want in comics. So take advantage of that power. You could draw anything. You have an unlimited special effects budget. So why not just make the most out of it? Why not? Who's stopping you? I mean, you're stopping you. That's it. The only people stopping comics from being incredible are comics. Despite what you see on the internet, the fans are forgiving. You'll notice that the fans are very forgiving of massive swings. They may bitch on Twitter, but they still buy. The things that the fans are less forgiving about are when you phone it in. That's when you get kind of the biggest complaint. So go for it. What do you got to lose? Thanks for listening.